Hello everyone, and today we're going to change out our drive belt on our 2009 Nissan Frontier. And when we priced it out, we got a quote of about $259 just to change out this one part right here. And after we complete this, you're going to see how this is actually really quick and very easy to do. So let's jump right in. And for those of you who may be wondering if you need a new belt, well, you open up the hood and we're going to go right down to this tensioner pulley, and it's this pulley you see right here. And right on top of that pulley, there's going to be an indication range. There we go, now we're a little focused in. So in that range, it almost looks like a pocket. And it's where these two yellow lines are. And you can see where it's actually at the very hairy edge of this indication pocket. So this is still good, but it's still on the edge, so you can tell this belt has stretched out just a little bit. And the other way to determine if you need a new belt, well, this one's going to be a little more obvious. It's pretty much going to sound like this. It's going to be squeaking and be very annoying. So as we're letting this run, we can go ahead and try the deodorant trick. Where you basically take a stick of deodorant and apply a thin coat right on top of the belt as the engine's running. And if the sound goes away, that's usually an indication that your belt is the root cause. And yeah, it's already starting to sound a lot better, so that's what it is. So obviously the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and turn off the engine. And then we'll go under the hood and we need to remove this air duct assembly. And it's held on by 4 bolts. 1, and there's 2, and there's going to be number 3 in the front. And then on the other side, let me go ahead and whip the camera around. We got this 4th one right. There it is, right there. So that's going to be the 4 we need to get rid of, and this thing should pop right out. So we'll go ahead and start by taking our 10mm socket and socket wrench, and we'll go ahead and do the front too. And we'll go ahead and loosen that up. So there's one right there. It's got a little rust, but it's not too bad shape. Let's go ahead and get the second one. And almost there. And there's number 2. We'll set those aside. Now let's go and work on the 3rd one. And same 10mm socket and socket wrench. Now this area is a little bit tighter, but all you have to do is loosen it up and then take the rest off with your finger. Now this is going to be stuck to the air duct, but that's no worries. We just want to take it out of the bolt hole. Now let's go and get our last one. I'm using an extension right here just because I can. And it's a little awkward position, so bear with me. So we're almost there. And there we go. Got the 4th bolt loose. And I'm just checking to make sure it's attached. Looks good. Now let's go to the front and turn it counterclockwise so it removes from the air cleaner case. Just that easy. And then we lift the whole thing out. And we'll go ahead and set that aside. So now let's go ahead and bring the camera in. And I'll try to do it so it stays focused and not too much glare. And right there, that's our auto tensioner or our tensioner pulley. And that's what's going to be used to keep tension on the belt as well as loosen it up. So all you need is a 14mm socket. Now you could use a socket wrench if you want. And loosen up this way. So as you can see, I can get my hand in there and loosen it up. So let me go ahead and get a better angle so you can see. So as I turn the tensioner clockwise, you could see the belt loosening up, and that's exactly what we want. So yep, pretty simple, nothing much to it. Now that's with using a ratchet and a 14mm socket. However, there's a tool out there called a Serpentine Belt tool, which is what I have right here. It's very inexpensive, and it's actually a lot better for this application because it gives you a little more leverage. So let's go ahead and grab that same 14mm socket and let's go ahead and turn the tensioner clockwise. So let me try to get it right on that one little bolt. There we go. And we're going to turn it clockwise probably to maybe like 2 o'clock. And there we go. So now you can see the belt is completely loosened. So all we got to do is remove it right off all these pulleys. And it doesn't really matter which order you go in. I'm just starting with the closest one to me just because of convenience and because I don't knock the camera out of the way. So once you take it off one pulley, it's pretty much easy to get the rest of them off. And we'll move the tool to the left side just so it makes it easier to get to the right side of the truck. And we'll go ahead and pull this all the way out. And there we go. So taking it out was pretty easy. And looking at the belt, it doesn't really look like it's in terrible shape. There is a little bit of wear and tear and actually a few cracking marks. But overall, it's not in bad shape. But at the same time, you don't want to wait till these are completely falling off to replace them. But yep, it does have some normal wear. So now let's go ahead and grab our new belt and we'll go ahead and take it out of the packaging. And looking at it, it's definitely a massive improvement. Definitely shiny, no wear marks. The grooves look like they're in great shape. And of course, since we do our due diligence, we'll just go ahead and compare it to our old one. I'm going to go ahead and stretch this out just to compare the links. And looking at that, yep, looks like that's going to work out very well. And just before we install it, I want to share with you one thing. In your owner's manual, which you can get in your glove compartment or you can look online, it is free. It does have the layout of how this belt is supposed to go. So it tells you how to route it. So that way you don't have to write it down if you don't want to. It's right there in your service manual and owner's manual. So with that diagram, let's go ahead and install the new belt. Now you don't have to do this in any particular order, but I do recommend you save the tensioner pulley for last. But for now, I'm just going to do the pulleys that are easiest for me while holding the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the generator or alternator first, which is at the bottom. Then I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around the power steering pump pulley. And again, the order is not important as long as you get the belt within the grooves and you're not damaging anything. Now I am going to go ahead and route it right on top of the tensioner pulley just for now. That way it helps me guide it through the rest of the pulleys on the right side. Now with the left side somewhat complete, let me go to the right side and go ahead and feed it between the fan and the other pulleys. And there we go. And just as an FYI, we do the auto tensioner for last because that doesn't have a lip or a wall on it. So sliding the belt over it makes it really easy when there's tension on it. So now that we've gone ahead and route it, let's go ahead and take our tool off of it. There we go. So that wasn't too bad at all. Now before we start the vehicle, you always want to do a double check and make sure your belt is routed exactly where it's supposed to go and there's nothing overhang or nothing misaligned. Because the last thing you want to do is turn on the vehicle and there's something wrong. So looking at every pulley, you want to make sure the grooves are within the pulley. And it looks pretty good. Looks like it's routed correctly. And looks like everything looks pretty good. I don't see anything wrong, so I think we're in good shape. I think we can go ahead and turn this vehicle on and see what happens. So let's go ahead and turn her over, see how it looks. And that definitely sounds a lot better. Looks pretty good. I don't see anything misaligned. I don't see any damages. That's a great sign. And yep, so far so good. So now let me go ahead and pick up a camera so that way I can give you a better look of what we look like. And doing another inspection. Yep, looks like everything looks pretty good. Yep, I don't see anything wrong. I think we're in great shape. Very nice. And before we put the air duct back on, let's go ahead and look at our indication range. See how it looks. And looking at that pulley, look at that. You can see where the indicator line is, the indication range. It's right there. That's at the very, very beginning. That's a great sign. That's exactly what you want from a new belt. So comparing it to the old one, you can see the old one was on the other side of the indication range. So overall, looks like we did a good job and the belt looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and put our air duct back in place. So I'll see about just lining it right up. And there we go. Let's go ahead and reinstall it to the air cleaner case. And then turn it clockwise. So that's attached. And then all we have to do is fasten the 4 bolts. But before we fasten them down, we're going to apply some medium strength thread locking compound. And this stuff is great because it prevents bolts from vibrating loose over time. So just apply a nice thin coat and we'll go ahead and start by finger tightening all the bolts. And all you need is your 10mm socket and socket wrench. Get that nice and snug. And then we'll go ahead and grab a torque wrench and verify it's torqued down to 83 inch-pounds. So there's 4 bolts and there's going to be 2 torque specs. This one's going to be 83 inch-pounds, which looks pretty good. And then the rest of them you got to tighten up and we're going to torque those down to 49 inch-pounds. So that one's nice and snug. Grab our torque wrench. And you should hear a little click. And there we go. So there's number 2. And the last ones are going to be in the front. Same thing. We're going to apply some medium strength thread locking compound. And I'll just pretty much just get them in place at first. There we go. Snug them down with our 10mm socket. And there's number 4. And then we'll go ahead and torque them down to 49 inch-pounds. Now, for those of you who don't want to use a torque wrench, you don't have to. I just provide them just for those who want to get it like pinpoint perfect. But usually just do it till they're snug. And there's the last click. Very nice. And we'll just go out for a test drive just to make sure everything sounds and works beautifully. So far, this is performing just the way as expected. It sounds very nice. And this turned out to be a very quick and easy job, and we're able to save about $200 just by knocking this out. Well, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe.